We are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft podcast. This is episode number 58, and I'm joined by not one but two very special guests here, as I'm joined by one of the smartest minds, especially when it comes to those great visuals that you see. If you're seeing anything truly dope in professional wrestling, is being done by this man right here, Coltrane. And then returning once again, it's my hermano here, Danny Nemesis. What's up, gentlemen?
Yo,
Hey, brother, what's up, man?
Not much, guys. Thanks again for coming on. Finally, we got to do this episode. Unfortunately, we had to reschedule, but hey, we got to work this weekend, so it's all good now. Now we can enjoy and have the combo here after a successful exodus this past weekend.
So yeah, the show was great. We had a good turnout. Everybody performed. I mean, I it just keeps getting better. You know what I mean? We got a good team, and I'm looking forward to see where this whole thing evolves. You know, the whole project thing.
Definitely. Before we get into all that as well, Coltrane, I got to ask you, because this is your first time coming on, so I have to ask the question I ask everyone: is when you hear that term, the craft, what is that for you?
I think about the Kraft macaroni and cheese I used to see growing up in the 80s. You know, like that's what, my parents used to make it in the box, or the arts and crafts store down the street, Pearl, or Hobby Lobby, or the Craftmatic adjustable bed. That comes to mind also.
There you go. Oh man. I was waiting for like the movie answer, because I know it was gonna be movie related. I was like, he's not gonna say the movie from 1996.
No.
His work too.
No, that's like a trick question, 96, I think. What was that? 96, Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah,
that corny ass Spawn movie,
Wow.
it had potential, but yeah. Oh, but let's get into this here. Let's get into all this. Well, I guess we should start with here. Let's start with, how is this created here? How do we get #dope? Okay. This isn't just something that, like, again, it's not a short thing either. It wasn't just like, oh, this was born yesterday. It's been a minute. So what's the origin here of #dope?
Well, #dope came about. I actually went to college. I was a theater major. So I went to Temple University, and then I switched and became a visual arts major. Specialized in cinematography and things like that. But I never pursued a career in it. I went more music, more trumpet, and things of that nature, more jazz music. So one day out of the blue, I think it was roughly 2016, 17, I just started, I bought a high quality camera, and I just started filming things, like minor things, because I always had a good eye. And I always wanted to combine my love of music to my love of film. So I fell in love with scoring films, scoring videos, scoring anything. Just putting my love of music to my love of cinema. And then I said, you know what? Why not combine wrestling? So I never forget, I went to see, it was one of those BS shows. I'm not even going to say the name. I'm not even going to give him time of day. But it was in South Jersey. And it was a match between a Product David Starr and Darius Carter. And I said, you know what? I wonder how would that look, film cinematic, because they were both tremendous talkers and tremendous at what they do. And I was just visualizing like certain moves slowed down or certain moves with a cinematic feel on it. And I said, you know what? Let's just do it. So myself with my partner, Johnny, who couldn't make it today, we said, let's jump into it. Let's go full speed. So we kind of wanted to stick with music and rap videos and things of that nature, but we said, let's get our feet wet in professional wrestling. So I approached everybody I can get my hands on. I was going to Warriors of Wrestling. I was going to different shows, approaching everybody. Steve Scott, Sonny. The only person that responded or that was willing to take a chance on me was TJ Marconi. And it's kind of like that barbershop, whenever you go to a barbershop, you kind of don't want to take a chance on that new barber.
Yeah.
You kind of want to like see how he cuts or see. but TJ was willing to take a chance on us, and he could care less how messed up his haircuts was. He just kept coming back, and it just grew from there. You know, it grew from there, and Danny Ortega has always been. I always tell him he's an honorary member of #Dope. He's always been part of every production, whether it was helping me film, helping me with lighting, helping me share content. He's always been there. So he's an honorary member of #Dope.
I was gonna say how Danny get involved, because I've known Danny for a while too, and then now when we start speaking about this, I've seen a lot of interest here. So Danny, tell us your side. How'd you get involved with all this?
I met Will. Shit, what year was it? Was it 2016? No, it was a little later.
2017.
2017, around there.
Mm-hmm.
Will and I, we were involved in with a pro wrestling company that was just starting up. Now You Create. That's where both Will and I, we kind of both got our feet into the industry, like fully, you can say, because I was already dabbling with a lot of like wrestlers, doing like gear designs and stuff for them, but I wasn't doing anything entirely like where I can say I'm a part of this company, I'm a part of this project, and that was where Will and I, we both got our first where we first got our first start there, and then it just made sense. He has a super creative mind, and he has an eye for things, and then me as an artist, creativity, that kind of goes up my alley too. So when we started talking and chatting and just bouncing off ideas with each other, it was a matter of time before we actually started doing work together. And ever since then, every time there's like an idea, at least an idea, and trust me, there's a lot of them, we just start bouncing ideas off each other, and 9 times out of 10, something comes up. And we've done like some really cool shit together, like not just in wrestling, but just like, I mean, Will, I'm pretty sure you're gonna touch up on this later. Like, we even got involved with a film festival and everything at one point.
Yep, we took it. We entered the AT&T Film Festival in 2017, along with Ivy, who was part of the wrestling world, and we came in 5th out of 500. We did
congratulations!
We did our Punisher spinoff, and
I remember that. Okay,
and TJ was in it as well. And what was cool about it was, Danny, if you remember, during that film festival, everyone was doing political statement pieces. It was like a piece about abortion, a piece about race, but we actually had fun with it, and I think everybody enjoyed the fact that we had fun with it. I think I ripped her throat out, and I hit TJ in the head with a brick.
I have a thing with Will, that every time I'm a part of his films, I either get hurt or I die.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So like that became like a trend,
Oh, so that's why I'm getting beat up in all the promos we do.
Yes.
It's just a tradition now.
Yeah.
No, but definitely. So that was gonna bring me up to my next question as well, because especially getting to know you guys throughout the years, especially you, Will, I could tell there's a lot of movie imagery in your visuals.
Yes,
there's a lot of that, like the little pieces of it. Again, if you're a movie buff and you definitely love cinema, you could see it. If not, to the casual fan, they're just like, oh, this is different, and this is definitely, which again is definitely different. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Especially, I'm going to show this image right here from the last Escape from New York.
Yep.
How'd you come up with this? And again, especially with the movie base of Escape from New York, with this promo right here with Anthony Gangone.
That was kind of one of my favorite pieces. Anthony Gangone is one of my favorite people to work with. Our love for John Carpenter. We combined our love for John Carpenter with our love for cinema, with our love for professional wrestling, and with that particular promo, we filmed it. TJ hooked us up with the location. We filmed it, I think, it maybe taking us an hour to film, and it was quick in and out, and we kind of we were like, okay, is this Escape from New York or Escape from LA? Like we asked all the important questions, but we kind of going into these promos, I kind of asked whoever I'm working with, okay, what's your favorite movie? Who's your favorite actor? To kind of see where their acting capability is, where their influences are, and then we take it from there. With Gangone, we always try to make our stuff Carpenter based. You know, like I'm dying to do a They Live promo, but he's like,
oh no, yeah,
we gotta save that.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that before, and I'm like, I could definitely see why he wants to wait because it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys did that, you did the Escape. Well, again, it has the roots of both New York and LA. You did the Christine, which that promo was again insane. So I could see why he wants to wait it out a little bit. But I have to ask you, with that being said, like, why is it, especially for you, for those visuals, to have that influence of the movie side of it and create something like that?
Well, you know, growing up, I used to watch, you know, I grew up on professional wrestling, and I used to watch a lot of promos, a lot of bad promos.
And, yeah, we've seen a lot of those.
And it's one thing that Roddy Piper always said. He said, don't ever lie to your audience. You know, don't say next week I'm going to rip your arm off. You're not going to do that. You know what I mean? And if you're playing a character, why not play a character or show your character's full capability? Yeah. So if your character is based on Snake Plissken, let's show your character in his element. Like we all seen Rambo First Blood, which shows Rambo kind of in a town, terrorizing the town. But everybody remembers Rambo 2 because it was Rambo in his element. He was back in Vietnam. He was in his element. And I kind of try to do that with wrestlers today. Like one of my favorite people to work with is G's, Black G's. G's character is so intricate and so important on screen as well as in the ring. Like he cares as much about his promo work as he does about his ring work. And it's rare that you find somebody like that. A lot of people could care less about promos. They care more about their in-ring stuff, which is fine. But if you want to make it to the end game, the end goal, which is basically being on TV, you got to kind of want to get yourself TV ready or cinematically ready.
Have everything. And 100%.
With I feel, at least with my work, if I can showcase the talent on screen as much as possible, or as we say in the world, if I can get the wrestler over cinematically, then I've done my job, you know.
There you go. No, definitely. That's been one of my biggest things why I enjoy the content you put out, and especially how the visuals you create, because to me it's something that wrestling has been missing for the longest. Yes. Because again, let's all be realistic here. We all love wrestling, but it always is the simple, like, again, talking to the camera. That's it. There's nothing that adds to it, especially when it's like a match that's like, oh, we still have like a month away. It's like, why not build something there? And the visuals you do, it adds more because now it gets people not only to be invested in that video, but now it's like, now I want to see the match because now I want to see what the hell they're about to do. It has that other the art side of it, which I love because again, I always say wrestling it's storytelling and it's the biggest art form there is. So, Danny, especially with you, what are your thoughts on that? Because again, I know you definitely love the artsy side of it all. Like,
and it's funny just to piggyback on what you just finished saying. I just feel that, especially with social media nowadays, it's so easy for people to keep scrolling. It's so easy for people to keep scrolling. They see somebody behind a brick wall pointing at a camera. You're not going past 10 seconds because that is something that people are always constantly doing, and that is why. And honestly speaking, when it came to the cinematic stuff on the more independent side of wrestling, it started with Will when I first started seeing it. You know, I'm not, you know, maybe someone else was doing it before, but I wasn't seeing it at the time. I was seeing the generic backdrop or the brick wall, you know, and feeding the same lines. Tonight and this day and this event, I'm going to do this and that to you because I'm awesome and you're not. And that's it. End of video. And it got too repetitive. And then And then one day, I go on Facebook and I see a freaking New York City line at like 4 o'clock in the morning in this whole cinematic shoot with a group of individuals, which all of them talented in their very own way, telling a whole story in a very cinematic thing. And I was like, oh shit, what the hell is this about? And that made a difference. And that's when I found out that it was Will that, conjured that one up. It's like we need to work, you know?
And we've been working ever since.
Absolutely. Like, even if it's something small, like, it's funny because during the show at the project, we did a promo that it was awesome, and it didn't take less than 10. It took less than 10 minutes, right? And it was just him and I bouncing off ideas. This is what he's gonna do. This is how he's gonna walk, and boom. And that's the good thing of being able to work with somebody that has that eye. In professional wrestling is a very visual sport. It's very visual as much as it is physical, and having a pair of eyes, that just see things very differently, in my opinion, it's very pivotal.
No, definitely is.
With professional wrestling, it's a little more intense than Broadway theater, because on Broadway you got the camera in front of you. In professional wrestling, the camera's on all four sides.
Yep.
So you got to be mindful all around.
Yes.
And with a lot of the stuff that we film, it's quick. I see Icebox Diaz commented, like he could tell you sometime we meet up at 10 and we're done by 10:15, and we just create amazing work. You know what I mean? In 15 minutes, and it's quick. Because the talent, like professional wrestlers have a level of talent where they can just turn it on. Like, soon as your music hit, you're on. And you should see that when we're filming. Like, it takes very little coaching. It's like, okay, I just need you to walk in one direction. I'll take care of the rest. And boom, we create magic. The challenge that we find is a lot of times getting people motivated to film, believe it or not. You see these casting calls with the lines around the block. But Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we wanted to film Moth Eating You Alive, I had to pick you up from your house. Like, we couldn't find nobody who was willing to film.
Yeah.
We could barely find people to be extras sometime. A lot of times, a lot of talent aren't even willing to invest in themselves, but they expect the audience to invest in them.
Yeah.
And as Dr. Dre said, you got to invest in things you can't replace, like yourself, your character, your body, and and people don't.
Oh, definitely. I got to ask you again, with that being said, with all you're talking, there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of watching it. So what was it that made you say, you know what, I have to do this? I have to be the one that changes that game there and adds this investment into the business. Because again, it's something that I can imagine it's a leap to do, because it's something that you wouldn't know just like, oh, this is going to work. So what was it that caused you to be like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I have to do it because someone has to?
I kept asking myself the question as to why wasn't it done already, or why wasn't it done enough? And when I threw my hat in, it was a lot of good work out there. A lot of people were putting out banging promos, the whole House of Glory camp. A lot of people were putting out excellent promos, but then it just kind of dies down. And then, people move on, I guess, in their careers or in their lives, and love of sport start turning into, I need to get paid. You know what I mean? But a lot of people use filming cinematically as an excuse to make money. And I use money as an excuse to make movies. Like, I put my love for cinema and my love for the craft over my need to get paid. And it just keeps me hungry, knowing where I can take a new talent, like a new face, to get him to a level in his career which he wasn't before. That's my reward. Like, I don't consider myself the king of cinema, and I don't want to be. But if I can get somebody to a plateau where they weren't before, then my job is done.
And it's funny because me and Will, just that question that you asked, we've had like extensive conversations about that. Will and I, we were talking about how cooler it would be, and we would just like sometimes throw names out there. Like, yo, you imagine if this guy, we put him in this setting and we put him over here, how like cool that would be. And sometimes when you actually put some of these things on paper, and then of course with a lot of the influence that I have, a lot of the influence that Will has, whether it's a movie director, a video game, a comic book, or like just to give an example, I created the Nemesis Championship like 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong. And I approached Will like, hey, I kind of just really want to do something with this because, okay, the belt's done. It looks cool. And I don't want to just have it like this. And I had this whole like idea in my head. And one of the first movies that came to conversation between Will and I was the Joker movie. And if you watch that video back, it has the main soundtrack of the Joker movie, which not everyone, but a lot of people that saw the clip and like automatically they recognized the song and saw like how well, and there was no to be continued with that, right? Like there was, but Will and I wanted to give that, and I guess we I kind of just broke a secret here, but we kind of wanted to give the people watching that excitement, like, oh shit, now what, right? And that's what happened. And just like the fact that we didn't even have a location that day. Will and I were driving around the city. We drove, I think, we were in Jersey first. We came back to the city, and we stumbled upon this really cool looking alley. And we got a championship that was not gonna be used ever, We got it over, and that's not patting myself or Will in the back. It's my example of showing like if we can do that with something that's never really gonna be used. Just imagine the want that we want to be able to put someone over with what Will can do, because Will's vision is just endless, and that's not me blowing smoke up his ass because he's my homie, but if you just look at his work, it speaks for itself, and just being able to help and throw in my input and just bounce ideas off each other and then end product,
And I kind of treat it like sometime I might call Danny. I say, yo, let's just go film something, or I'll call G's like we haven't filmed in a while. Let's just film something, or I'll call TJ. When you get off work from working 15 hours, we got to film something, and when he's done cursing me out, he's like, okay, let's do it. And the way I treat it is, it's like a muscle. You got to keep your muscles working out. So if I take a break from filming, I feel like then I got to make up for it in the gym somehow, and I got to be filming something every day or constantly to keep that muscle flexed, keep that muscle going. A passion project of mine that I wanted for Danny was I think we wanted to do the Death Wish. I think the character, like the Paul Kersey, like on a train getting harassed, and just something as simple as that, and apply it to a wrestling show where you can have a match start on a train, and then you come down the come out the subway station and then bust through the doors of the arena. To me, I would mark out for that. And it's something easy to film,
Yeah.
And I feel that like one of the most interesting things is the fact that Will and I are fans before we are creators, right? And as fans, we always ask ourselves, like, what would I mark out to? Like what would I find cool? Like as people that have been watching wrestling since forever, right? And we'd be like, I remember when Will presented that idea to me, I went nuts. I was like, dude, we have to do this. And the fact that we haven't is kind of a crime. But
no, and I love it because that's how, again, that's what the creative process does. I'm already picturing it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know when an idea is like, oh, this is gold. Because you just
Mm-hmm.
start seeing it. And it hasn't been done yet. And no, and that's what I love about it with you guys. Because again, you're just seeing the visuals you have created and where the mindset comes from. And again, seeing what influences it. Like even the music, like those simple things, like again, maybe to a
Yes.
fan, they're just like, oh, that was a catchy track. But it's like, you're really invested in it. I can definitely see like the scores of everything is important to you. So I
Mm-hmm.
got to ask. With that being said, why is it? Because again, I love the promos you do because each one has a different score that it makes sense though. Especially
Mm-hmm.
when you're listening in, you're like, I know exactly where this is from, and it fits. So it's perfect. So
And scoring like that would be my dream job, like
yeah,
to score a film, and I get excited for that. Like the piece we released today with Chris Cage in the after the show.
yeah,
Um, Again, another like I was just so excited to score that piece. If you listen to it, when Miguel, I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't seen it. When Miguel discovers what happened, you can hear the music just get intense.
yeah.
And sometimes I spend hours just searching through tracks and searching through the archives, you know, of royalty free footage or royalty free audio, just to get the right uh, hard hitting piece to get the point across. And each wrestler, I feel, has their own soundtrack. You know, it's kind of like that corny ass movie in the '90s. Was it Gone in 60 Seconds? When Sphinx, whenever the character of Sphinx came on the screen, he didn't say a word at the end of the movie, but his music, it had like a real catchy, like aggressive tone. And again, a corny ass movie like that, I would mine it and just take out pieces that I need, like sound and things like that, which also gave me the idea of what we're kind of gonna do now with these promos is in credit scenes. Ortega, I don't know if you remember, we used to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Like you would look at a TJ promo and then get a G's promo Easter egg in it, or a Moth pro. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just things to keep the audience watching or keep them drop. Like, where's this going next? You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
You kind of did that with the Gangone promo, no? With
Yes.
the at the end of the Christine promo, there's Jesus just happened to just be there. It's like, where's this going?
Yes. Yes.
Which that's great though, because again, it keeps people wanting more, and that's
Yeah.
that's creative
dream
genius.
Match, by the way, Gangone versus G's.
Oh, that's money right there. But
Right.
go ahead.
Take my money.
Oh,
And
man.
it's funny going back to the whole scoring movies and film and all that. I always feel that there have been films where they're in conversation because of the soundtrack. For example, like The Crow 1 and 2 are like, I'm a big fan of the movie in general, but if there's one thing that always stands out to me, is the soundtrack. And it's one of those things where it's like, even if you didn't enjoy the movie, like for example, Will's favorite movie, Gone in 60 Seconds, you still get something out of it because of the music. I feel that people don't understand sometimes how powerful music is. And it's something as simple as, going back to professional wrestling, a theme song. Like we all remember sitting at home or watching a promo, and then we hear that glass break, and you're already, it's Stone Cold, right? And you're really excited, right? Or Ultimate Warrior, he had the most aggressive theme song, dun, 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 and everyone was already like excited because you just heard the song, you didn't even see the guy yet. And it's the same thing when it's the same idea where I feel that with film, it's not about just what you're watching, it's also what you're feeling. And music plays a ginormous part of that. Like you put intense music, now you're feeling the intensity of the video.
Hold on, do the Ultimate Warrior again.
I'm gonna do that for you after we finish.
No, for me it was the bagpipes. Like when Hulk Hogan came out to save the day, but when you heard those bagpipes from Piper,
Yeah.
it ruined your day. You was like, oh, what did this guy want?
Yeah.
But like you said, that was something that was instrumental in getting the character over. Just like Batman, uh, every Batman movie has a different score, but you hear it, you're like, okay, that's Batman.
Mhm.
With T.J. Marconi, we even though his character is very mafia based, very Godfather based, I try my best to make his music as less mafia as possible, because it's kind of too obvious. Like, okay, he should be coming out to the the mafia sound, and but I kind of like I give him a little bit of jazz, a little bit of horn, to sort of give his character class. With G's, even though it's more hip hop rap, I still try to hit him with a little bit of Hans Zimmer or John Williams, with Black G's. So combining those two, and it comes out amazing every time.
No, definitely, it adds another element. It adds something else to it, that it's not just it's adding something it makes it something even more than what it already is. Because again, with what you already do visually, it's something, but adding that other element now with the sound, it leaves something to the viewer. Again, I'll go back to the video today, that score you guys did with it adds something else, because now it's making you feel the video. Even if you weren't there live on Sunday and you were part of wait, where's TJ going? And then it just adds something now when you're watching at home.
And my whole idea of less is more, I still believe that that's the way to go. Like, if you think about Jaws, the original Jaws, which is probably one of the greatest horror movies ever made. You maybe saw the shark twice, the actual shark, on screen a total of 2 minutes, and just that build up with the score and the teasing. With the latest video, who the villain is, so we don't have to show his face until it's showtime, and I kind of went in that direction. Again, it's so simple, and when you get creative people in one room, the amount of ideas and the amount of work that could come out is amazing. But getting those people in that room have been a challenge, And with the project, we got so many creative people on board, like the other two hashtag dope members, JC and Patrick, who's our audio guy, like just tremendous talent, and they're always throwing ideas out there, and they're always on board and willing to go. JC is an amazing stand-up comedian, and I wanted to combine that element with the project, stand-up comedy with the wrestling world. I don't see how that can go wrong.
It definitely, again, and it's one of those things that, again, it's taking that leap though, because no one wants to try it. No one wants to be the first one to be like, let's see if it's gonna work. And again, seeing what you guys have done, it's great.
That's the cool thing about being creative is being able to take risks.
Yeah.
As creative as we may be, and as much as we build our resume, there's always room for exploring, for fucking up. There's and trust me, like as an artist personally, I hate 90% of the stuff I've done. But believe it or not, and I get that reaction a lot, by the way. But it's one of those things that at least it's out there. At least it was attempted. And if it comes out the way that I wanted to come out, awesome. And if it doesn't, it's still a learning experience. And it's the same thing with these things. Especially in wrestling, there's so much trial and error that goes into this stuff, and that's not just in our independent world. Like you go on TV, you see a lot of things that flop miserably. But at least you know that you're never going to see it again.
And again, it's all the learning process of it all. And it's funny because I can imagine, especially for you two, you always are going to be your biggest critic as well.
Oh yeah.
So no matter what you do, man, like I said, this is 58 episodes in. I still break this down every time, and I'm like, I could have done this better. I could have asked this. I could have done this. And it's like, even with the stuff we do at Project, like those when we do our backstage promos, I think I rewatched Fallout's backstage promos 100 times each, and I'm still. And
I gotta take my hat off to both of you guys, because that stuff was amazing. the Steve Scott, the Steve Scott Frank Flanders.
Yeah, that one was fun. But my personal favorite one was when Moff bit Miguel Sosa's shirt,
Mhm.
and just like Miguel, just like feeling uncomfortable and like cursing in Spanish.
And believe it or not, that whole setup and arrangement, I got to give credit where credit's due. Chris Cage's idea. You know,
Yeah.
Chris Cage said, grab those guys as soon as they come out the ring and look at the magic we created that day. You know, every promo was fire. Every backstage promo was fire. And
And it
again,
also-
just getting all these creative minds together. Like, we need to do that more often, you know.
And it also goes to show like the amount of talent that we also have working with us. A lot of these guys were doing these promos once.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and Ray won't let me lie. Like, we gave the direction. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what you need to portray, and I'm gonna do a 3 count.
Mhm.
Well, and then boom, a lot of these. Very very rarely did we have do it again.
No,
Mhm.
really, and it was one of those things that, hey, I think one or two promos, even I was like, you know what, I feel like I messed up something. They're like, no, that's it. Like
Mhm.
we hit the mark. I'm like, all right, it's on you now, because it was so good to see how again we bounced off that organically.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
That's how creative we got to the point that it was like a lot of these promos were just again we said one direction, like okay, I know what we're doing. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's it. It was seconds, and we
Yeah.
get into it.
and it goes to show also like I feel like a lot of people like the casual viewer or wrestling fan that goes to these shows, they don't really realize the amount of like this isn't just something that hey I'm gonna talk from the heart. No, like we have to come up with the writing, the music, the cinematic editing, you
Mhm.
know, where lighting and just being able to like plan things out before the camera starts rolling. And
Mhm.
it's a very interesting process to see. I remember my first time, going from behind the guardrail to the backstage part of pro wrestling. How interesting this thing was to me, and it just made me want to be like, yo, I really need to do this shit, like, you know. And
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people just take that creative process for granted, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people aren't open to constructive criticism, negative criticism, positive criticism. To me, any criticism is good. You know what I mean? You could take something from it.
Hmm.
And as a unit, especially with the project, everybody plays a role. And I think that's going to be our ultimate success. And everybody's involved.
Hmm.
Like whether it's front of the house, back of the house, operations, anything. Everybody's involved, and I think when you have that level of camaraderie, you got no choice but to succeed. Whether it be at this venture or another one.
No, definitely. And I gotta give again shout out to TJ because finally, and this is something I was gonna bring up, especially on the podcast, was it took how many years for all three of us to finally work together?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've been wanting to work with you guys since especially since I started seeing your stuff, Coltrane. I was like, we got to do something together. Which
Yeah.
technically, again, with COD and NYC,
Mhm.
we got a little bit to be able to do it. But now being able to
Yeah.
now fully get invested into this has been great.
Yeah, we were always like our paths were always crossing, but we never actually intersected.
Yeah.
Came together. Like I remember, I used to see you working at Capitol when Capitol was around, and I was always, I always admired good work, and to me that was a great product. But life happens.
Yeah. Definitely. No, but it's been great. And again, like I told Danny when I had first time I had him on here was getting to work with him as well. It's again how I know we definitely have a lot of the same mindset, especially creatively.
Yes.
Again, a lot of the stuff that we can talk about even outside of this is stuff
Mhm.
that a lot of people aren't even thinking about. And that's
Mhm.
what I love, and that's why I always said I want to work with these guys because I know again magic can be made right there. Again, it's been great. So shout out again to TJ for putting us together.
Yeah, yeah. Even with the promos, like with the backstage interviews, like what you said before about the music, even applying like background background sounds to that, something as simple as that, just spices it up, adds sugar at least.
Yeah.
And you guys are responsible for that because the sound was great, and you took no technical direction. Like I didn't have to tell you, Danny, okay, start recording 20 seconds before they start talking. You just knew. You know what I mean? And it's like just all of the planets are aligning for some reason. So I think we're definitely on to something good. And we got to work on a passion project. Like we got to do something non-wrestling related.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I remember I wrote a script and I even showed you, Will. I mean, it's nothing wrestling related, but it's something that I know that seeing the work that he and I have done together that we can also pull off. And it's just one of those things where there's just so much room to create. There's just not enough of anything, you know? And just the thing that keeps us the most busy lately when it comes to like working together happens to be wrestling. But like there's just so much more that we can fill that space with, you know?
Well, I was kind of hoping to fill that space with Call of Duty, but I had to jump on here.
Hey, we've touched on a little bit outside of wrestling, so that counts. It's not just wrestling, Phil. Oh man, but no, and that also that brings me to this question as well, because again, we've seen it that you have that love for the promos. You have that love for that. But what was it that got you into wrestling in general? Not just the visual side of wanting to make that difference, but what was that brought you in? Because to again now be a part of again creating a whole different era of the visually, what was it that got you hooked first as a fan?
Well, it would be probably the reason that got us all in. My dad was a big wrestling fan. He used to take me to see, Rocky Johnson and what's the Tony Atlas.
Yeah.
I was young. I was 3 years old, and I was going to wrestling shows, independent shows, and I was never a fan of what my father was a fan of. Like he was a big Hogan mark. He was a big, Paul Orndorff. And I always gravitated toward, like I told you, Danny, Piper. I was a big Piper fan, and it's always been something that felt natural to me. And what got me on the independent scene was, seeing a flyer for a Warriors of Wrestling show, and I decided to take my daughter with me, and we saw TJ wrestle, and the rest was history. The rest was history.
I remember my first experience with pro wrestling was a little different. I was like around the same age, 3, 4, maybe. My dad is a huge action movie fan. Like
3, 4 was that 1998?
No, a little earlier than that, unfortunately. My dad he's a huge action movie fan, especially like the worst kung fu movie that you can find online or like in those like bootleg shops or whatever. That's what my dad was into.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Basically.
Okay.
Or worse if possible. And and I remember he was flipping channels. He was looking for a movie to watch. We didn't really have cable like that growing up or whatever. And I remember we passed through a Spanish channel, and they had Mexican Lucha Libre, and that was he was able to find to like action movie or combat or whatever. And he wasn't really paying much attention. But then I started seeing the masks, the colors, and being a superhero fan, for me, that was the closest thing to a real life superhero. And, and then, of course, I found out that WWE or F at the time existed. And you start seeing characters like, Bret the Him and Hart, Mr. Perfect. You start seeing Yokozuna. You start seeing eventually Stone Cold The Rock. And as a kid who, from the jump, I was already like an artsy kid always. That was candy, like I just wanted more and more. And like, of course, you start digging and digging, you somehow stumble into the independents, and I, like how Will said, I saw a flyer and the rest is history.
What was the first independent show you saw?
I went to a House of Glory show. And that
I
was
think that's how most of us like started with indies was
because
Hog.
we at the time, especially the time I started getting involved, there wasn't a lot of good options, you know.
Yeah.
So that was really it. Like you see a few faces that you're kind of familiar with in a flyer, and you're like, oh shit, here, like,
Yep.
like.
Yep.
So it was one of those things where, and you know, it probably was one of the best decisions I've ever made because that's how I met a lot of you guys. You know, I TJ being one of the first people to give me any sort of opportunity. You know, when he definitely didn't have to. You know, and I met him there. You know, shout out to Vander James, who was the very first person to give me any sort of opportunity in the industry. You know.
That was back when he was EA James?
No, that was when he just started being Evander James.
Okay.
Oh, so
he just started.
Did you get to see the EA James stuff, or did you miss that?
I saw probably the end of it.
EA James is so good.
I love EA James, yeah.
Oh man, but no,
Remember
Hog
that,
was the same.
That Pro Wrestling 2K.
Yeah.
It was at Broncos place.
Yep, 2KW.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
another one that I remember going to, but I think I only went to one show of theirs.
I think they had one show, right?
I think they had 3.
Okay.
3 was it. And then it kind of just like went nowhere, sadly. It was another one of those that just went to Duros, and then it's like, that's it.
I remember. And you know, believe it or not, the Pro Wrestling 2K, that kind of really catapulted me in this direction. Again, I had the idea.
Yeah.
But if you remember back, I don't know if it was their first show. There was a wrestler, Ronnie Burton. Ronnie Burton, he's a bald dude.
Yep.
He wrestled on that show. He put out a promo. He was going against Jay George. Very cinematic. And I said, that's it. That's what I got to do. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I remember Ronnie. Ronnie was from was Capital too. That's why I was like,
yes.
Why does the name sound familiar?
Yes.
The rocker dude. Okay.
The band. Yeah, the band. Yes.
No, but see, and I could definitely see that's what it catches your eye. Like those things. That's like there's something else you could do with that though. You can evolve that. So that's great. But no, and it's again that same like how it was with Danny. For me, it was legit that picture I posted the other day. It's been 7 years that I've been going to indies because it was that first show. Which again, first 2 people I took pictures with and I really wanted to talk to was TJ for some reason and with Ant. Because it was just something about them that I was like, it's different than just what the show was putting on. So, but indie wise, like it's definitely grown like how creatively it's been. Because I've been watching, I want to say, and I spoke about this the other day, was my first ever indie match that I saw was Loki and Xavier from like 01.
Oh, wow.
And when you think about that time, like it definitely, there was promos, but it wasn't like how it is now that's like, there's more of a story to it. Back then, everything's the ring. Telling that story with strong style, with the high flying stuff, all that. But again, it's the era that we grew up on. Like that's how great it was. But seeing like now how visually insane it can get to be like, there's more to now get people invested. It's great.
Absolutely.
And you could tell a great performer is somebody that you can watch without knowing the backstory. But just imagine how special that would be if you know the backstory. If you know why Marconi versus Moff is so they got that history.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that just adds. It's almost like watching Endgame without watching anything else. You know, you need all of that. You know what I mean? And I feel like the promos do that. The promos, that's the reason why a lot of people hate Captain Marvel. You know, it's like they just shoehorned it in between Endgame 1 and 2 and expected us to buy it without giving us the big build up. You know.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic.
that could be a whole other podcast. So that was like, there's a lot of reasons why that movie was bad, but we'll leave that for another day. Which I also gotta ask you about
the Mary
that.
Sue episode.
Yeah, I gotta ask you about that because also with that being said, you also don't have a lot of time to sell these stories as well. So how is that for you when you're, again, that restraint of, again, sadly, the attention span sometimes of fans aren't going to be for like a 10-minute promo.
That's something we had to learn the hard way. Danny, I don't know if you remember those early NYC promos.
Yeah.
They were 4 minutes long. And we realized that the fans were, the longer the video, the more tuning out people were doing.
Yeah.
And this is when Instagram and Snapchat and all of that stuff was coming up to where 15 seconds is the most attention span before people just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
And if you notice, a lot of the promos have gotten shorter. They used to, a good promo used to run you about 2-3 minutes. So now we try to keep it between that minute and a half, 2 the most, if it's visually stimulating. And a lot of guys, you might get these talkers who are just talking to the camera, and by minute 3, you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Or, I try to incorporate a lot of my film school stuff into establishing power and character. Something as simple as filming somebody from the bottom up to show that they're powerful and in control. If you got a guy that's kind of swaying while he's talking, it's showing weakness, it's showing unbalance, and the audience is feeling that. And like you said, with time, you don't have a lot of time to think of these things, but in post, you're like, damn, why is he blinking so much? Damn, why is he scratching his nose? Damn, what? And you can't go back and do anything. So that's when you got to have a catchy song. You got to have a stimulating background. You got to have all of these other things to kind of mask that. And then the talent is telling you, I want this by tomorrow.
That's a lot of good memories with that one.
Yes. I remember Danny in the garage spray painting the NYC banner. It was told they got to be ready by tomorrow.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, Ray, I think you went to some of those NYC shows. You remember how big that banner was.
With the apple, right?
Yeah, the apple. And like, I was given a direction, and I'm like, all right, cool. And, again, shout out to TJ for providing all of that spray paint. And just, I remember like showing Will, like, this is what I got. And, the deadline is tomorrow. Like, I don't have tomorrow. It's not even my house. Like, you know what I mean? And but another thing, like, just going back to like the time constraints and like how long promos are supposed to be. I'm a firm believer that the most important seconds of a promo is the first 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If you got my attention in those first 15 seconds, you got my attention for the rest of your promo.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're living in an age where scrolling is so easy. It's not like in the day when we would watch a promo on TV that we kind of just had to sit there and take it if it was boring or not, Now we have the power to scroll. And I feel like that should be every performer in general, not just pro wrestling. Any performer in general's worst nightmare is scrolling.
Yep.
Oh, definitely. And we're in that age now that it's like, just with how social media has grown, it's so hard to be like, what's going to keep their attention? Because now that's also going in my head because of the marketing aspect of it. Because again, you guys create the great visuals, but now I'm like, okay, what am I going to write to make sure someone's like, okay, now I got to watch this video?
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, it's like, this doesn't sell me on it. I'm done. It's like, it all goes there. That it's like, again, that attention span is like, okay, get through this. Now get to it. Like, watch this.
And it sucks because the amount of work that goes behind a lot of these things that we do, it's a lot of work. And all of that work just so somebody can scroll.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then watch a cat video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so that's really that it's challenging, because a lot of people think that we're just holding up a camera and pressing record.
Mm-hmm.
The process is so much more than that. And and in the end of the day, we're kind of walking into a lot of these things blind because we don't know what you're gonna like. We're kind of just hoping you do.
Yep. Yeah.
And we're trying not to go the bait and switch route that Hollywood is in right now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have a Hawkeye promo when it's really about Kate Bishop, or have a Obi-Wan promo when it's really about little Leia,
Yeah.
and Vader is being being outsmarted. I don't know. I'm gonna get into it. That's a whole other podcast.
Okay.
That's a whole other podcast.
From here, now I just knows we gotta do a pop culture one very soon. We're just
Yes.
talking about
Yeah.
all this.
Yes.
That's gonna be for part 2.
Yeah.
But
That's the Mary Sue podcast.
Yeah.
there you go. But let's get back into that, because now, with everything you've gotten to do and seeing how you've gotten to now be a part of all this, what has been for you? Again, I know it's going to be hard because again, it's critiquing your own work here. But for you, what's been the best promo you've gotten to work on so far? Because again, you're getting to work with great talent. You're getting to work with legends like Dan Moff, with Black G's, with the great talents like TJ, with Ant, and with the whole rosters we've been working around with. But who is someone that's like that promo that was like, oh, this was gold?
That's a good question. I can't. It's a hard one.
I like that I have him thinking, because it's like, yeah, this is what I want for a podcast. Danny, you too, because you've been there, so you're not shying away from this question either.
It's a good question, because I mean, you know what it is. Sometimes you just do something that you have a vision in mind, and the moment it comes out that way, the satisfaction that you got it. You got your clip. You got your 2 minutes. Yeah, that's a good
I would have to say it was 94 degrees. It was the summer. It was I got a phone call from Dan Moff. I was in LA at the time. I was performing jazz, and he said, "Yeah, I got something. I got an idea." He said, "I got a match with PCO," and he was like, "I kind of want to do something big. I think it was for WrestlePro, or one of those companies." And I'm like, "No, it wasn't for WrestlePro. It was for what wrestling up in Providence." And he said, "I gotta wrestle PCO. I want to do something real big because PCO has big, and I want to go big." So I found an abandoned location. It was an abandoned factory in Newark. I went to scout the area. It was like full of junkies. It was, imagine New Jack City. It was full of junkies. It was full of drug paraphernalia. I pretended to be a cop. The junkies scattered for a while. And Dan showed up. He had about six students from WrestlePro. And we just filmed that morning in that place. And Moff just beat up the characters and everything like that. But we were just so drenched in sweat. The camera was overheating. Junkies going back and forth. And nobody complained. Nobody said a word. Everybody just continued. Because we loved what we were doing. And the promo, it got pretty good numbers in the thousands. But to me, that was probably one of the best pieces I had done, because it was like forming Voltron. Like, we all came together and just did our piece. I'm currently working on a piece with Black G's that I can't spoil, but it's going to be up there to that level. It's we're still adding pieces to it, but when that piece comes out, it's going to be something epic.
I guess my answer would be, and it's not because I was in the promo, but it's because of how, like, again, everything kind of just went. How we were planning it, and it was just good. And again, the bouncing ideas the whole time we were filming would be that that promo I did with Dan Moff, and I think what stood out to me the most, because people saw it, they saw me get my ass beat by Dan Moff, right? It was funny. But what a lot of people don't know was that Dan Moff, he really wanted to make this as realistic as possible, to the point where, and again, I was on board with everything. I had mascara in my face. My pants were wet. I went home with a busted lip. I had Dan Moff's fingerprints on my neck.
Your rib cage was bruised.
Yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it was awesome
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, this is what we're gonna do. Cool, let's do it. And we did it. And Dan Moff, he's also very creative. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a beast in the ring, and like a lot of people give him the merit that he has in the ring. But like when you sit down with him and you talk, he's bouncing these ideas, and then he's telling you why this is gonna happen this way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and it makes sense, and then you do it, and it works. And
And when you talk to him, you hear all of his years of knowledge, like all his years of experience, all his years of paving the way for people, and you can't you got no choice but to soak that in, and
and
it
and
comes out in the work.
and another situation where I saw that, just that organic flow that he tends to have sometimes when it comes to creative, was that promo that he did with Miguel Sosa.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And believe it or not, sometimes that's how open ended a lot of these promos start. What are we gonna
Yeah.
do? Like what?
Yeah.
There's no. And Dan Mob just looked. He saw these empty boxes, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna throw these at you. And just follow my lead.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know when you were all rolling. I'm like, all right, 3, 2, and you see Miguel starts talking. These boxes start flying. He freaks out, and then all of a sudden, Dan Moff is biting Miguel Sosa. None of that stuff was rehearsed. None of
Which is
that stuff.
probably why we're not allowed in that room anymore. But continue.
Yes, but it's you have to take risks, right? Like, and it both came out of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we like they went with it, and none of it was rehearsed. None of it was talked prior.
No.
Go with my lead. That's what Dan Moff told Miguel Sosa.
Hey,
You
and
know?
again, it's a great story that's being told again by a visual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, now look at what's being sold here, what's being going. And again, we
Mm-hmm.
have direction. Even with the video today, it continues. And it
Yep.
goes to now again, which you guys haven't heard yet. We have a show coming up August 6th. Come back, join us for Summer Clash. But
Yeah.
speaking about those promos like that, I'm going to answer too because I didn't just give it to you guys. So you can
Mm-hmm.
get one of my favorite promos we've done so far. It hasn't even come out yet because it was done this weekend. Because it happened just like that. It was another moment of getting to talk to a veteran and just be like, we're going to do this. All right, boom, 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 and we're done. Was with CMD. Because getting to work with Unk, with Deshaun Pratt. Pratt is another one of those that his mindset for this is just, he's on that. So we talked a few seconds that by the time everyone was coming like, oh, this is your direction. It's like, oh no, we got it already. We're good. Like, we're going. And it worked so well. Like,
Yeah.
Again, he's another one. He's another one of those guys that's very easy to work with. You just tell him what you want, and he autopilot. One of the most cinematic pieces that I've done, and I constantly go back and watch it, would be the when TJ and I were doing a Public Enemy series, and we started that with the cemetery promo where he was burying the Crusade gimmick, and again, it's either 90 degrees with Dan Moff or 20 below with TJ. Yes, and we were in a cemetery with a shovel, and nobody said a word. Like nobody said a word. Like they just let us go in and work. And again, like that's a situation where all of the planets were aligning.
Yeah, I gotta ask you that because that was another question I had. With all the great promos you've done, has there ever been a time that someone just comes up to you guys like, "The hell are you doing?"
Yes.
Because
Yes.
some of these promos I'll see again, the ones that are especially like outside of it all. It's like it's one thing when you see like a movie being filmed. It's like they close off a street, they do all this. This is all basically shoot and run. So
Yes.
how is that for you guys? Like when you go into a situation like that, because I can imagine like it's wait, what are they doing over there? You know,
Yes.
especially in the tri-state, everyone wants to go bother and ask, like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, how has that been dealing with that kind of situation?
Like one day, I'm gonna hook up with you guys. I'm bring the laptop and I'm gonna show you like all of this archive footage for promos that never came out. When COD was a thing, we had filmed this amazing promo. It was over by Yankee Stadium in the subway station, and it was myself, TJ, uh, Miguel was there, Lugo, because they Sebastian Cage,
Yep.
the whole COD crew, and I had Jay George there as an extra. Uh, Steve Lugo and Jay George was pretending to rob. I forgot who the character was. I think it was. I'm not sure if it was Matt Caraballo. And the cops were there. The cops saw them makeshift robbing somebody, and then they saw me with the camera, and they were like, "Oh, okay." But it happens, you know. We've been asked for a permit. We've been asked for a filming permit. We've been asked for, autographs. We've been asked everything, But I guess it's the nature of the business.
I think correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't we like in an abandoned railroad at one point when we did that Punisher film?
Yes, I think we might have broken about 4 or 5 laws filming that. Like we had actual live ammunition. We had weapons.
Allegedly, just for statute of limitations, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's only allegedly, just for the podcast. We're making sure people. It's more dramatic than it is, guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We kind of wandered into trespassing territories. Not sure, but it was dark. Who knows?
Yeah. It might have been. You never know.
I may or may not have defaced a wall or two.
Yes. Yes.
Again, allegedly. Who knows? Maybe the wall.
And believe it or not, in that independent in that film we did for the film festival, there's a scene where TJ lifted me about 5 feet off the ground, like with no problem. And I don't know if you knew this, Danny, but when he headbutted me, he actually broke my nose.
Oh shit.
Yes, and we kind of snapped it back into place. But there's a scene where I'm giving a thumbs up. I'll have it for you later. And the whole Punisher skull that you painted on was all full of blood, and it was fun.
Is that funny? It's funny that you mentioned that vest. Because the Punisher skull that he had was what is it, like a motocross vest? Was it?
Yes.
I remember I had to go to my roof to spray paint that.
It was body armor.
Yeah, and it was such a pain in the ass to paint. But it was one of those things that, we did it, again, it just goes to show the creative process that goes to show. And, I'm pretty sure there are people that they saw the clip.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a skull. And they it took me about an hour to get all those layers of paint.
Mm-hmm.
On that one thing. And yeah, it was definitely fun. Like that whole thing. We went after hours, I think it was. We were for 10 minutes of a film that it was. We were there for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Hey, and that dedication to make sure that it comes out the way you want it. It's creating that actual visual,
and look how ahead of the curve we were. This is before.
We got water. We good.
This is before. This is before Netflix's Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
And we made sure that at least our take on it, we made sure Punisher was accurate. Like we said, okay, what would he actually wear? He wouldn't have a T-shirt with a skull on it. So we actually went and got, body armor.
Yeah.
And we had, I think the holsters that we had for the weapons were still where I was able to move. It's still tactical. The haircut, Punisher was a military guy, so I said he need to have a haircut, militant, not the Dolph Lundgren, peacock fade. But we were just ahead of the curve. Like,
no,
and we wanted to do multiple. We still might revisit that. We'll talk.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if that does happen, we'll talk off air about that because
yeah.
I gotta get my hands on that with you guys.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, guys.
Okay.
Because again, we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this because We're an hour and 10, and we haven't scratched the surface yet.
Absolutely.
But before I let you go, Will, because I've gotten to ask Danny this, but for you, what's the end goal?
Like I said, you know, the if I can meet you and get you to where you were, you know, if I can meet a talent and get them higher than they were when I met them, that's my end game. You know, if I'm part of the project, if I could elevate it to a level that, you know, it wouldn't have been without me, or even, you know, if I'm filming G's or Danny or whoever, if I can get their career higher, you know, I've done my job.
There you go.
Yep.
So again, Coltrane, Danny, thank you both for joining me again.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, please go follow everyone on social. Go follow the project, because again, we got a lot coming out that you guys are gonna want to see, because truly this is some dope content. So go follow the project there on Twitter as well. Go follow Coltrane as well. Go get him some love, because again, you're gonna want to see these visuals. Go follow #dope as well on Instagram right there. It's #dope. And go follow Danny as well, because again, that artwork that he puts out. Go get you some stickers too, because those stickers
those stickers
fire.
dope, yo.
Thank you.
Like, those stickers are great. But again, guys, thank you both for coming on. This has been a great combo. Like I said, we definitely gonna have to do a part 2 very soon, because we gotta talk more.
Yeah.
We didn't scratch the surface here. But again, everyone watching,
of just things that happen, man. Like
when you take us off, we still gotta talk.
No, we're definitely talking after we get off the air. So, guys, everyone that's watching, thank you for watching again. Don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.